London can be a scary place. When the sun sets and the night comes alive, it pays to keep your wits about you. Most of us think we're safe on these streets, save for the odd phone snatcher and the weirdo that sits next to you on the bus. But what if the scariest thing out there in this vast, sprawling city wasn't the living, it was the dead? Today on Macabre London, it's time to light your lantern because we're going on a ghost hunt. Welcome back to Macabre London, or if you're new here, then hi, I'm Nikki Druce, your host with a silent G, and today we're delving into a good old-fashioned ghost story. Now, if you're new here, and this is your first time listening to or watching Macabre London, then welcome, it's lovely to have you here. If you want to get more of the show, I'd love for you to join me and the rest of the Ghoul Gang on patreon.com/Macabre London to be part of the exclusive club. It really is the best way to support the show to keep it going in return for extra bonus content such as spooky bedtime stories and a show after the show called Pod Mortem where I discuss my own thoughts and theories and all the behind the scenes investigating that ends up on the cutting room floor, but is still juicy enough to add a bit more to the case. So if that sounds like something you'd like, then head on over and I'll see you over there. But now it's time to light your lantern and grab your EMF reader because, friends, we're going ghost hunting. When you think of Belgravia in central London, you cannot help but instantly think of money, and when it comes to today's terrifying tale, that's exactly what happened to cause it. Tucked behind Wilton Crescent, the stunning Georgian row of sweeping houses which rivals the Royal Crescent in Bath, stands a building which isn't quite so aesthetic. But that's not to say that the place doesn't have its own certain charm. But to the well-to-do residents of Wilton Crescent, it was a whole different league from the lofty and opulent world they were used to. In the 1700s, an officer's mess for the 1st Guards, a regiment of the Duke of Wellington, sat rather inconspicuously except for when the residents would make themselves known by making a little too much noise. Inside the mess, soldiers would drink ale and sing songs, but as they were in an enclosed area, which was also occupied by soldiers, it didn't much matter until the noise would spill out into the surrounding areas. And you can sure as hell guarantee that the residents in Wilton Crescent didn't take too kindly to this yobbery. It was a place where men of rank and discipline gathered all together, and it became a secret hideaway for those with a rank and file. But when something happened behind its closed doors, the cover-up couldn't be contained. It was quite common for soldiers to play cards of an evening, lit by candlelight and would sup ale well into the morning. As you can imagine, even with low stakes, the introduction of booze into a gambling game was always going to be an issue, and fights would regularly break out. One evening, a low-ranking soldier, known just by the title of the subaltern, was one of the men who had picked up a hand and started to play, laying down a small bet. As the men played into the small hours and the ale flowed, the room seemed to get darker at the edges until it felt like the group were floating in a void of darkness. But suddenly, everyone was sharpened back into focus. The light seemed to illuminate one player in particular, and the fact that he had stashed several cards up his sleeve. As the candlelight flickered and the nudge went round the table, the young soldier was asked to reveal his hand, and more importantly, what was up his sleeve. The soldier had already banked and spent the majority of his money on ale, but his fellow players knew he had taken their hard-earned wages, and they weren't going to let him off easily. Usually, in a situation like this, there would be sharp words exchanged, maybe the odd punch thrown, but on this night, things were different. As the rain began to hammer down outside and the room became illuminated with flashes of lightning, the young soldier knew he was in grave danger. Like things possessed, the faces of the men he'd called friends 30 seconds ago began to twist into bitter, angry, hate-filled expressions, and he was trapped in the corner of the bar with his back against the wall. There was no escape. The man dug deep in his pockets, his feet now smushed against the hard panelling of the wall, his so-called friends advancing on him closer and closer. As he raised his hand with the bundle of money in it, it seemed it was too late. It wasn't about the money anymore, it was a matter of principle. The first blow rained down upon the young man. He flailed to fight back, but he couldn't as he was well and truly cornered. Blow after blow hit his soft body, blood sprayed into the air, and the fists kept coming down again and again and again. Soon, everything went silent. The men calmly lifted up the unconscious man. One even turned to pick up the scattered coins off the table, placing them in his mouth to clean off the blood before putting them in his pocket. The lifeless body was carried out to an area near the kitchen, and two of the men fetched tools. They began removing the nails from two large floorboards and lifted them up just enough to shove the lifeless young soldier under them. They then hammered the floorboards back down, cleaned up the mess in the back room, and went back to their rooms as if nothing had happened. They never spoke of the incident ever again. Once the smell subsided, which people blamed on sewage and a dead horse from one of the stables, that's when strange things began to happen. Coins would go missing from tables or be dropped on the floor. There would be thuds and bangs coming from near the kitchen, and a strange, red, sticky substance would seep through the floor from time to time in the back room. Footsteps could be heard clattering before thumping on the walls, and the cooks would say their food would often taste spoiled, even though they'd used fresh ingredients. As the years passed and the barracks were relocated, the officers' mess was purchased and turned into a pub named the Grenadier. A fitting revamp for somewhere which had basically been that in the first place. Even though the soldiers had left, one still remained under the floorboards. At least that's what the soldiers thought when renovations were carried out in the 1800s, but no skeleton was found. However, the haunting persisted. Witnesses across the decades have reported seeing a solitary figure sitting at a table when no other patrons have been in the pub. A man in a red coat. He stares silently before vanishing. Glasses shatter inexplicably in the dead of night, and shadows are seen dashing through the rooms as if trying to run away. Some have heard the sound of falling coins coming from an empty room, and on a rare occasion, the smell of blood fills the back room. However, those that have encountered this long-dead spirit have said it doesn't seem to be angry. It seems to be sad, forever regretful of the mistake he made on that fateful night. A gracious ghost who has accepted his fate of being caught cheating, doomed to forever live in his fate. But with that reverberating in your brain, I reckon it's time for a quick coffee. So I want to tell you about the thing that has helped me produce the very episode you're listening to right now, and that's London Nootropics. This is honestly pretty much the only coffee I drink nowadays, and there's a good reason for it. It really is incredible. It's packed full of mushroom goodness that will tailor your day to exactly what you need. I love all their blends as they're so specific to what you need throughout the day. Mojo will get you up and going, Flow will get you tapped in and able to focus all day, and Zen will help calm your brain so you can switch off at the end of the workday. Their newest blend, which has been made in conjunction with Fantastic Fungi, the people responsible for that amazing Netflix doc, has so many high-quality mushroom extracts packed in it, it has become my go-to to start my day. With chaga, cordyceps and lion's mane, it's got all the heavy hitters in there, and let me tell you, these all do incredible things. Chaga is great for the immune system, so it's worth getting on it before cold season hits. Cordyceps are great for heart health and managing stress, and lion's mane is a brain booster which will have you firing on all cylinders. So if you want to find your balance and find out what I've been raving about for all these years, then make sure you head to londonnootropics.com and use my discount code Macabre, that's MACABRE, for 20% off your order. I personally have a subscription myself as you get an extra discount that way, and you can cancel anytime, but you're not going to want to because, believe me, this is a long-term relationship you're getting yourself into because you're gonna fall in love. As you may have guessed, I love this company and I just want you to get the best for yourself, so give it a go and let me know how you get on. Wait, I know it's only November, but have you planned your Christmas party yet for you and your colleagues? Because if you haven't, here's something that's actually going to make it fun for you and you're going to really enjoy it. So make sure you check this out. I can highly recommend a trip to Jeff Wayne's The War of the Worlds, The Immersive Experience. A night like no other where you can try to survive a Martian invasion in the Edwardian era. This show has just received a Guinness World Record for most performances of an immersive show, and the thousands of 5-star reviews speak for themselves. You can experience H.G. Wells' classic tale like never before in Jeff Wayne's The War of the Worlds, The Immersive Experience. This groundbreaking production merges Jeff Wayne's legendary musical work with cutting-edge technology, live actors, virtual reality, 3D sound, and projection mapping, creating an unforgettable immersive spectacle. And just in case you're not quite sure what it would be like to experience a Martian invasion, let me paint a picture for you. You'll slide down a Martian handling machine claw, fly to Mars in a hot air balloon, have a drink in the Redweed Bar mid-apocalypse to steady your nerves, and you'll come face to face with 300-foot-tall fighting machines, all while Jeff Wayne's iconic music plays around you. And because I'm such a fan, and I know you'll love it too, I've got you a discount code so you can go and enjoy the fun. Use the code Macabre10, that's MACABRE10, at checkout for £10 off 2 or more tickets. It's valid on all ticket types for any time slots up until the 31st of December 2025. But don't wait around, the offer runs out on the 30th November 2025, so you'll want to get it booked ASAP. Book now at thewaroftheworldsimmersive.com with my exclusive discount and prepare for one of the best nights out in London and perhaps of your life. Trust me, once is not enough. You'll be hooked, and I wouldn't blame you. I'll probably see you there. Right, let's get back to ghost hunting. So with the Grenadier seemingly being haunted by a depressed, remorseful ghost, what is it about this place which makes these ghost stories even more believable? The building's history is well documented, the pub appears in military records, maps and city directories, and the architecture itself, low beams, vaulted ceilings, narrow corridors and low ceilings, all matches the descriptions handed down over the years. Reports of sightings and activity all seem eerily similar, and the pub has even adapted to the tale. No one knows quite when the custom began, but at some point someone decided to try and calm the activity inside the Grenadier by doing something nice for the ghost. They began asking patrons if they would contribute to the soldier's debt so he could pay it off. But this money didn't go in the pocket of the landlord, it went onto the walls of the pub. Like some kind of eerie ritual, people pay the soldier's debt, which seems to calm things in terms of ghostly activity. But it's not just the sad soldier that likes to visit patrons in the pub. If patrons don't cough up to clear the murdered soldier's debt, it's said that they can expect a visit from the ones who killed him. People have reported being shoved, some have had unexplained bruises appear after a night out drinking, me too, but I don't think that was ghosts, and others have said they felt hands grip around their throats when they sat in the corner where the soldier allegedly met his sticky end. One landlord recounted hearing a soldier's boots on the worn wooden floors, followed by the unmistakable clink of a coin being tossed, though he was entirely alone. And that one genuinely gives me goosebumps. The Grenadier's own website, historical tours and numerous guidebooks all reference the story, noting both the military history and the haunting. It's been studied, photographed and written about repeatedly, making it one of the few London ghosts with true historical scaffolding which holds up the story. Walking through the Grenadier today, you can feel the years of late nights, jokes over dinner, and the occasional sing-song seeped into the walls. The interior has changed so little that you know the floor is the same, the beams are the same ones that would have soaked up all the stories over those years, and also have had many matches struck upon them. The sounds of the interior is the same as the soldiers would have heard, the creak of a floorboard and the clinking of glasses. But even after all these years, with his debt repaid, why does the young soldier choose to hang around the pub, reliving the worst day of his life? Well, that may be due to the supposed burial of his body under the floorboards. No one knows for certain what happened to the body of the soldier. Some say those that murdered him eventually decided to remove him and bury him in the nearby Hyde Park, and others say there was a cover-up when the smell became so bad, and those in charge worked out what had happened to the missing soldier. So perhaps because his corpse was supposedly buried in the pub, the soldier has always seen this as his forever haunted home, his spirit trapped within the very fabric of the building. It is easy to imagine the young subaltern seated at a table, counting his last coins, looking around at the men who will never understand his panic. And it is easy to imagine him lingering, waiting for acknowledgement for a coin to be left behind, for the debt to finally be paid, but never being able to give the coins of the living to the realm of the dead. Today, the Grenadier is a living pub. Patrons sip pints, tourists snap photos, and history tours recount the ghostly story outside. But the Grenadier is more than a pub. It is a time capsule of history. It's a land where memories refuse to die. On a quiet night, if you linger long enough, you might hear a solitary boot step on the polished floor. But there's no need to be afraid if you paid the murdered soldier's debt. But if you haven't, I'd make a swift exit if I were you. You wouldn't want to end up buried beneath the floorboards. Thanks for joining me for this extra special spooky episode of Macabre London. Let me know what your thoughts were about that episode on Spotify or my social media, and if you've ever had a ghostly encounter yourself. And if you don't have any thoughts or theories, but you've made it this far and just want to let me know you're a true part of the Ghoul Gang, then please leave me the pint clinking emoji in the comments on YouTube or Spotify in honour of the soldiers in the Grenadier. And if you want to join me for the post-episode discussion, make sure you head to Patreon for Pod Mortem, the new show after the show, where I delve into more of my research and my theories around what's happened. And this one's definitely got some spooky goings on. So join my exclusive community on Patreon to hear my hot takes along with early and ad-free episodes by heading to patreon.com/Macabre London. A big thanks to my amazing top tier Patreon producers, Beck, Christina, Christoph, Heather's Leg, Lisa, Mary, Matilda, Ravel, Sally, Sam, Sarah, Terry and Veronica, and all of our other fantastic patrons. If you want your name read out in the episodes or listed in the show notes, join us on Patreon. I'd love to personally welcome you to the Ghoul Gang and have a natter about the latest episodes. Don't forget to check out both my sponsors of today's video, Jeff Wayne's The War of the Worlds, The Immersive Experience, and also London Nootropics. And thanks to both of them for supporting the show. They are brands I adore, and I'm so pleased to be able to share them with you too. Thanks for joining me for another macabre tale from the city's past. I've been Nikki Druce. Remember to stay especially spooky this Halloween season, and I'll see you ghouls next time.